Hi, it's Ray from Pro Shaper Workshop in Charlton, Massachusetts. This is that Alfa hood. We just did a video on that using the shrinking disc on both sides. It had been sandblasted prior to Mike's ownership. Mike is from Georgia. He bought this about, what, 10 years ago, you said?
I've had the car for 20 years.
20 years, okay. So you drove it at first? Or, okay, he actually drove it. And now he wants to make it into back to new. So this hood, if you see some of the other pictures from the video, was like this. And what happened is, I don't know if the camera can pick it up. On the other side you can. This is where the openings are on the inner structure. So we put the inner structure in. These were all open, and whoever sandblasted it in here and all around this, sandblasted the other side, so the metal was getting hammered from both sides. So it had these dents, and they were at least 1/8 of an inch deep or so.
Probably deeper.
And when Mike finally took on the challenge of restoring the car, he chemically stripped with paint remover the paint off of it, found a ton of Bondo on the top surface, and he says, oh boy, I got to address that. So he's come to the class, and I said, okay, the best way to deal with this is we've got to separate the inner structure from the skins. So that required bending. This was hem, just like most of the door skins. This had a 180-degree hem. So the lip comes up 90, and then it's folded over 180. So I got a little tool, made this years ago. Neat little tool. It's an old, basically a leverage tool for taking, for mechanical leverage for taking like a stuck cylinder head off or something like that. It's a generic mechanics tool, but it's nice steel. So I bent it, got a 90 in it, and then I forged it out on a anvil, and I made this little hook like this. And this little hook, you can go in where that 180 seam was. Pretty tight fit. Where that was 180'd over. You put it in like this, and then you can take a ball peen hammer, hit it here like this, drives it under, and you pop it a little bit at a time, and without doing too much damage or anything. So I was able to open that all up, and you can see inside here, this is where the inner structure was, and this is where it all got stretched out because of the sandblast. And so we ran the shrinking disc. If you watch that previous video, the last video that we did, you'll see that was where all these dents were on this side here. So now, when Mike got it all apart, the rust was considerable everywhere underneath where it was all hidden. So ostensibly people have stuff sandblasted to remove the rust. In this case, they only removed the rust or the paint where it could get to. It couldn't get to underneath all of this. And this is where the rust really is. The rust was hiding there. So he had to de-skin it. And that takes, everything takes an amount of time. Oftentimes these are spot welded. Luckily these weren't spot welded. If they were, you'd have to cut each spot weld, drill them out, and pry them loose. Generally I'd use Rust 911, which is a chelated non-acid method. But it would take a big dip tank and a lot of material to do it. So I've adopted using muriatic acid. And we do it outside. You can't do the muriatic acid inside. It kind of clouds in the building and it'll rust everything. So we did it outside, wore gloves, wore a face shield, stayed downwind, all the safety precautions. It's diluted muriatic. You buy it at Home Depot. It's like $11, I think, for a gallon. You put a little bit in a container. You put paper towels down and you soak it really good. And literally in about an hour, a couple doses, you get it clean just like this. Now if you use just the muriatic, the next day the whole thing will be totally rusted again because it pulls the humidity out of the air. So then what you have to do is follow up with a phosphoric, and he'll paint this. He'll probably put an epoxy primer on it. And then this inner structure has to be glued in so it doesn't bounce. So they had these little rubbers in here that were glued in. He's gonna have to do something like that to keep the inner structure nice and tight so it doesn't drum. Here he has a situation where the acid went underneath these spot welded on nut plates. So I said, well, that's the muriatic might have crept under there a little bit. We hosed it all off good and flushed it out, blew it out, and then put the phosphoric and then clean that out really good. But then I had him use baking soda and water, and he did a little bit of baking soda and water to etch under there. The rear deck lid had to be separated as well. So this was spot welded all along these three edges, but here it was hemmed. So that's a real tight fit in there now. Okay, there you go.
And then it's gotta curl up.
And again, this inner structure was all rusted all along inside here. There was actually a rust out right here, and he made a little patch, and the corresponding spot right here was rusted pretty bad, but it didn't go through. I don't think. This was all distorted and needed the shrinking disc treatment on both sides too. He's going to get spot welded around here. He's going to do MIG plug welds to fill where he had to cut open the spot welds. So this will come out really, really nice. So the surface is perfect. This was like this before. And you watch that other video, you can see it. So you can see there's a lot of work in straightening out the mess. So now he's got an Alfa trunk lid and hood that's going to require, you know, hardly any body work whatsoever. There might be heavy build primer, that's it, and it should come out absolutely perfect. So I just wanted to show you the whole process. So we've got the whole picture here from the other video to now the pre-assembly, and you can see what's involved. And Mike did a spectacular job. He's actually an airline pilot, but he's very meticulous and did a really, really nice job. So that's it from Pro Shaper Workshop, Ray Chalene in Charlton. Remember, metal is clay, and please subscribe, give us the comments, hit that little notification bell. Thanks for watching.